Right. So let me ask you a question. Do you agree that time you plan to waste is not wasted time? Just sit with this a little bit. Time you plan to waste is not wasted time. If you have not watched my previous live, go ahead and do that, because I talked about distractions there, and if it's possible to avoid them, and the intention behind the time we're choosing to waste or not. And if it's possible to avoid the distractions at all, and like how they affect us. I will attach a link in the comments for you to have an easy access. So what I mentioned in that video briefly was that there's nothing wrong with scrolling through Facebook feed, watching YouTube videos, playing video games, as long as that's what you intend to do. Let me know if that makes sense. And this is where the time we plan to waste is not wasted time. If this is our attention to do so, it's great. That's what we want. It's our attention to scroll through Facebook, to play a video game. Let me know if that makes sense. I'll read the comments later. So, moving on, it's when we do things unintentionally that really gets us into trouble of actually wasting our time. So it's all about our intention behind our actions. And since we are in charge of our intention, our distractions, our actions, we are in charge of those pings, rings, and dings on our phones and laptops. I call it a notification curse. Because it really has become this huge distraction that we created for ourselves. The keyword being we created for ourselves. There are many keywords, but this is it, because we're in charge and we choose to get notified. But do we really need to be notified of everything? Right? I understand that this is an automated setting that we usually, when we do download an app, they ask you, do you want to get notified? You just click yes. But maybe next time when you do that, it's better to think, do I really need to know all the news from this app? Like, is my time worth it? Is my time worth all the notifications that I'm getting? Right? Because it really has become a huge distraction that we have created for ourselves. Again, with the keywords, right? We created for ourselves. We are in charge. But since we are in charge, we can get rid of them quite easily, technically. But our mind, it takes some time for our mind to get over it, than to just click the button, right? So for us to actually turn off those notifications, it might be quite challenging, even though it's as simple as turning off that button, right? Pressing that button to turn off those notifications. Because what happens after that? After that, we might be like, oh my God, did I miss something? I'm not going to be updated, right? I'm not going to be informed. Oh my God. This fear of missing out. But again, we're in charge. So let's look deeper. Where is it coming from? Why do we want to be informed? Why do we want to be notified of everything? Why can't we take the time, schedule the time in our calendar to check the emails twice a day. Why do we have to keep our emails open all day long? Just so we don't miss anything. What's the deal with that? And that's the question for you, for each of us, if we're dealing with that. Right? Digging deeper, understanding why it's there, why it's triggering me. Because that's the only way out. Because sometimes turning the notification off is not enough. It's going to cause you more problems eventually if you just can't deal with it, right? So it's up to us to make sure we can deal with it. Let me know if that makes sense. Because this is where it actually starts, in our minds. Whether we're willing to put up with actions that distract us or we want to spend our time intentionally, whether we're scrolling through Facebook or writing a book, we're in charge. And what does it even mean, wasted time? Is it scrolling through Facebook or maybe cooking dinner while your son needs help with homework? You know what I mean? Wasted time for each of us might mean a totally different thing. You need to cook dinner, but your son also needs help with homework. So how do you choose? So is cooking dinner wasting time while your son needs help? Or is it when you need to do important work, like fill in your tax declaration, and you're choosing to scroll through Facebook? It's a different thing for each of us. Because each of us look at things differently. So wasted time might mean a very different thing for each of us. And that's normal. But if we are planning this time to be spent doing this certain activity, then that's intentional. There is intention behind it. It's not something we end up doing because we're bored, or we want to avoid distraction by, actually doing things that move the needle. If this is the case, it's up to us to look deeper, right? To understand why it triggers me. What is there? What I'm avoiding? Because by asking questions, we get answers. We don't get answers if we don't ask questions. So I wish you all to plan your time so it doesn't feel like you have wasted it, but plan fun in as well, because we all need a little bit of fun, right? So have a great Thursday, and I will see you next week.